Joey Fats on the Fatcast, and we got a special treat for you today. We're doing split screen, and on the phone with me is your big friend from up north, or rather southeast. That is Retroroni. First question, Retro. Can you walk outside right now?
Can I walk outside right now? I can walk, but there's a lot of snow.
How much
for
snow
North
did
Carolina,
you get?
we got like a foot, I think. So it's basically the apocalypse. So
And have you ever seen that before down there?
I've not seen it before down here. I mean, we've gotten like a good amount, like 5-6 inches before, probably, but like this one is definitely the most that I've seen. I feel like, and if it wasn't for finals being literally this week, we would probably have more days of school canceled. But they know that like people need to get the hell out of here, so they're not going to move anything back.
Yeah.
Or if they can, they canceled school yesterday, and then they squeezed everything into today. That was yesterday, and it was kind of a shit show. So, yeah.
And as luck would have it, you're going to go home to Chicago, and you're going to get the same exact thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens. So, yeah, well, I'm happy to be on.
So we got a lot to get into on the Fatcast today, and you'll excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold right now.
Yes.
But we're going to talk a lot about the American League in this upcoming fourth Liberty League season, and we're going to start out right away. I'm going to ask Retroroni about his team. As you know, if you were here last season, it was a dogfight out there in the AL East.
Oh, yeah.
Between the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and even Boston chiming in there. Retro, why don't you talk a little bit about your off season and how you met your goals this year?
Yeah, so I thought we did really well. I really didn't think we were going to come back, but the crazy run we went on at the end really just sealed it. I think we went on like a 18-game win streak or something at the end. And the beginning of it coincided with a bit of a Yankees, like the only slump they had. So they went from like 5 or 6 up to like 2 down. And then my team just didn't lose. It was crazy. So I thought we exceeded my expectations. I mean, was it 112 wins? I think we won. And, obviously to win that many games, come close-ish to the record that the Dodgers have now, right? Then they set it a few years back in here. Is great. And I think moving forward, I think we're going to get better. I think I subtracted a little bit, but going to get some new guys in there to see how the young guys work. And yeah, it should be exciting. But here, let me do a better job. I'm going to share my screen now and show everybody kind of my roster and see what everybody can see. Okay, share screen. And then, okay, how's it looking?
Yeah, looks great. Okay,
so I'm going to take a look. I want to go into my team here. So you're going to see from my perspective what it looks like. So, I mean, as we can see, it's only the spring training rosters and whatnot. But the rotation is the top 5 there is what it's going to be going into the season. I think I'm going to put Buehler at the number 1, but I'm kind of going to try to bubble wrap him a bit since he's fragile. Going to give him some shorter starts. Hopefully, maybe break out the 6-man rotation every once in a while with Godley in there. Because, I mean, as you can see, he's a low 50s starter. Should be like a 3-4 type starter on most teams, but he gets pushed to the 6 slot because I have what I like to call hopefully a 1 in Buehler and then like 4 2s in Quintana, Glass, Stroman, and Rodon. So that's what I'm going to be rolling with for most of the year. My bullpen right now, to make a few unfortunate cuts. I think I'm going to move Sam Street, who I traded for with Pittsburgh last year. He turned out to be an interesting guy. As you can see here, like crazy control. And then if you go to OSA, that's what I really like. Imagine if he gets to all those ratings. 65 stuff, 70 control, 65 or 70 movement, 65 control. That'd be like top reliever, period.
Nasty. Yeah.
So if you like the personality class, work ethic, intelligence, all good. So I'm hoping maybe he takes a bump. I mean, he's already 29, so he's probably not going to see much increase. But, yeah, I'm hoping to get somewhere near that. If even staying here looks okay. But as of right now, he's getting sent down because of the roster crunch at the beginning of the year. But yeah, I mean, the top guys, obviously Edwin Diaz, Rosenthal, and I think Hand are going to be my top three type. And then guys like Moronta, Alexander as the lefty specialist. Another thing I like to point out here, looking at him versus lefties, he will not give up a single home run. Period.
And I just to chime in here, I can attest to that a little bit because, as you can see from his ratings, anybody who's watching this, he is an absolute beast. Not just against lefties, but against everybody in general.
Yeah.
But he had a shortstop on the south side here, and he just blew up pretty much every time. And as you can see there, as he's pointing out on the screen, he was just terrible.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the right park, and he found the right park up there in Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto, he did well in 2019. The roster crunch has been big. I've been acquiring a lot of relievers, and he's finally out of options, so I'm going to roster him. But hopefully he'll be my lefty, kind of get every lefty out type, and hopefully pitch a little bit somewhere else. Big wild card for me is TJ. He, the stuff is crazy, and even if you set him to a starter, he's still a competent back of the rotation starter, even at 52. Nuts. I mean, that stuff. I mean, the big issue I have though with him is the movement might be a tad low. I don't care as much about control. I mean, control is important, but with movement in my park, it could. I mean, he's going to give up some home runs every once in a while. But I think the way I'm going to try to use him is kind of I don't know, sort of how I envisioned they used Miller a few years ago in the playoffs. He'll come in hopefully middle of the game if a starter gets out early and put together 2 to 3 innings in the middle, hopefully, because he has that stamina. And with last year's scout, he added his sinker to be a 3-pitch pitcher and be a legitimate starter. So I'm hopefully going to use him in kind of the role I was going to use Glasnow in last year, who was kind of my long reliever, but still a talented guy, and hopefully can
sure, put together it's almost like he can be an early game stopper. And if you were aware and tuned into this year's real life playoff games, that comes at a premium.
Oh yeah.
And with the way things are shifting right now towards bullpens, that is going to be very, very valuable.
Yeah. Especially in the playoffs.
Excited to see how that works out.
Yeah, it should be fun. And then, I was happy to get Rosenthal kind of as my one big reliever add, and I added Hand also, but I like Rosenthal a lot. He's kind of my number 2 closer type guy. Another guy that's not going to give up any home runs, really high movement, going to strike out a ton of guys. And I think hopefully he realizes his potential a little bit more. I mean, for the ratings he has, the stats he's been putting up have been on the lower end, I think. So hopefully he'll blossom a little bit. And so I hope the bullpen's going to be good. And then moving on to the starters, my lineup. This is going to be the way I start the year. These two, I kind of set these yesterday as my little starting lineups. As you can see, the big thing is Royce does not make the roster. It's kind of a twofold. Obviously, he's good enough. He's 65 overall already. I kind of want to service time him a little bit, get that extra year, but also I really want to see how guys like Santana and Carpenter work out as my kind of DH platoon. I mean, Santana starts in right, but I see him as more of a DH type player. In general, he'll probably shift to a DH role as someone either he performs or Carpenter performs more. And Royce will be up pretty quickly on the first injury or one of those two guys kind of underperforming and getting cut. Let's see what else. I love looking at Brett Cumberland's stats and ratings because he's turned into a bona fide superstar. And I mean,
yeah, he really has.
The eye is stupid. I mean, obviously this is small sample size spring training, but 265,
my God,
505 on base. And I don't know how many. I don't know how to check it. Do you know how to check spring training full splits? Do have to go to players.
Yeah.
Can I go here? Can I see that?
I mean, that's unsustainable, but even 100 points less, that's just
Yeah.
nuts from the catcher spot.
Yeah, it's from a catcher, and he's he's not a good defensive catcher, but he's 50. I mean, I don't care how many guys steal on him really. I just hope he doesn't get too many pass balls or framing stuff, but I should be okay. I mean, I'm adding so much from the hitting aspect that I'm not worried about it for the majority of it. But yeah, I mean, I just love looking at his ratings. I mean, even before his OSA was a bit low, but it's almost there too. So he's going to be a superstar. And then yeah, so like I'm going to start Cumberland at DH to start the year against lefties to try to get Sean Murphy, who's a very good catcher in his own right, and also a great defensive guy.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm hoping to sort of pair him up with Glasnow as much as I can because his control's a bit low, and I think the guys with good defensive catchers behind them can be helped with the control guys. Hopefully, it's kind of a theory of mine. So maybe if I can match those guys up a little bit, match up Glasnow gets more lefties to get Murphy in the game more. That could be kind of a strategy of mine if it kind of works out like that type of a thing. And then yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to see Panagria, great defensive center fielder. Hopefully, he'll be league average with the bat. Maybe if he's not, then it's not the worst thing ever. But yeah, a lot of interesting things we've got going. Guerrero is going to be at third base at least to start the year, so that could be an adventure with his 40 defense. But I mean, the bat's crazy, so just getting a bat in there at third base is pretty nice. But yeah, so that's my kind of my squad, and excited to see how it works out. Machita's another kind of addition type utility guy. So what are you thinking about your roster to start the year? You want me to go? I'll go into kind of look at your stuff, and you can direct me.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
As you can see,
we started out the spring 5-1, but we've fallen off quite a bit.
Bit of a skip
since then. After last year's 100 losses, we were really kind of scrabbling and trying to figure out what went wrong. What are we doing? And one of the people I'm really excited about it this year, if you could move to my lineups, is Nicky Delmonico. And Nicky, if you were following last year, really absolutely horrible. Did not play up to his ratings at all. You can see that on-base percentage fell more than 60 points, and that's bad. I'm very heartened by his effort this spring, and I really think he's going to come back. And if you can go out of that, we'll talk about the lineup a little bit.
Yeah.
We had some bad luck last year with injuries. Nicky Madrigal, he went down for the last half of the year with some pain in his uterus, I think. But he's ready to come back, and quadriceps, well, same area. But as you can see from his ratings, he's going to be our guy for a long time to come.
Yeah, he's going to anchor that line.
I was really impressed with all of his ratings. He skipped AAA. He's just like in real life with the White Sox. He's just too good to be ignored. And he's going to jump in real life a lot of levels with just his ability. And really glad to have him in the leadoff spot against anybody, no matter who it is. And back to my lineups. We're still in a rebuilding phase, but I'm very happy with the guys that have shown up here in the last year or so. Reynel Delgado, who came over from St. Louis Cardinals.
He looks. I mean, my scout loves him too, as you can see.
His stats as middle infielder are extremely good. He's only 20 years old. And I'm very excited to see what he can do this year. He might not be up right away, but I think he will
it
be
looks like
up
he's pretty close.
before we get into the summer here. Another guy that has skipped levels, as you can see. Very good deal.
Yeah. So what do you think about the Chapman ad? I mean, he's a guy that I've literally since he was with Declan and the A's, I wanted him, and then he got traded to the Reds, and I tried to get him from the Reds, and pieces never really fit for me. But obviously, you got something across with him.
Yeah, it seems like Cincinnati and I had kind of the needs that really jive with each other, and so we were lucky enough to acquire him. And I'm absolutely thrilled that I have him in the middle of the order for $4.8 million a year.
Oh yeah, I
This
mean
year, and he's under control for a while. And yeah, as you can see, half
and
his salary
high
to start
loyalty
this
should
year.
help him hopefully re-sign at a cheaper rate, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm going to use those years of control here. Yeah, and as you can see,
Yeah, let's take a look at the deal a little bit. Okay,
it was a
that's
pretty interesting trade. You'll see I gave up my number 3 pitching prospect. As you know, the White Sox have the best system in baseball. So we have a lot of prospects to give up. I was a little sad to get rid of McKelton and Albertos, which, if you were watching last year, absolutely money out of the pen. Zach Lewis as well, good prospect. But I really think we not only got enough to be in the conversation this year, but the next year or two down the road, the different prospects we got, very good.
Yeah, no, I think it turned out great.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and then kind of just to throw my angle on it, when I was negotiating with the Reds, my biggest thing, he wanted either one of Glass now or TJ Intraveilla. And for me, while I have the depth at those kind of spots, the big issue was like I need to win now, and giving up pieces from now for another piece from now was kind of a lateral move, and I need to add more so than I need to laterally move, because I didn't really have like the weakness at third or shortstop. It was just I like the player a lot, so I'll make him fit. And I just couldn't get rid of one of those two. But I mean, I hoped to get him, but it didn't end up working out as it happens sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's where Frank and I clicked a little bit. We kind of wanted each other's things that we were selling. So he got his good prospects that are realistically going to be available in just a year or two, and I got the guy that's going to contribute right now and over the next couple of years as well. So we'll take a look at the pitching here.
Let's see what you got here.
I'm much more thrilled this year than I was last year with our starting rotation. Dane Dunning, all of you already know, he is a bona fide superstar. That is for sure. I really don't think his ratings show how good he is and good.
Yeah, what is your scout look at? I mean, I'm sure it's higher than mine is, but
go back to your scout.
It's on mine right now.
Yeah, pretty close to what you have there. A little more to go on the stuff, but pretty close there. And I think he outperformed his ratings last year, and he's got a lot of improvement left to go, and that's scary for the rest of the AL Central.
Yeah, the high movement. I mean, he's a similar type to like Stroman, and the high movement, high control. Those guys I always like them a lot because you kind of know what you're going to get out of them. They rarely blow up, and they don't really give up home runs with a high movement. So you can kind of you're going to get like a solid 3 WAR out of them every year. And as long as you have like maybe one, I mean, even as a number 1, they're good. But like if they're the number 2 or 3, you're going to get a great 30 starts out of them to like win games, as opposed to maybe not like dominate games, but they're still going to come in and give you a chance to win as long as your offense is solid every type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And he would have got 30 or more starts last year.
Yeah,
He got
yeah,
hurt at the end of last year. He only got the 28 starts, 166 innings.
yeah.
Um, but he can be that workhorse. And he can be a good workhorse.
Hmm.
And I'm very excited for him to lead the
Yeah,
rotation this year. Going back, you already know about Felix Hernandez, Dallas Wolfork, my guy. Uh,
yeah.
Max
He's great
Fried just
too.
came over from the Braves this year. Uh,
Hmm.
very good
Yeah, I
lefty.
saw that.
Yeah, Max Fried. Um, well, maybe not so much in ratings, but Red Scott has him just a little bit better. I think he's a very good lefty presence in the rotation.
Yeah, and I think the extreme ground ball, as long as you can get some defense around them, they'll do pretty well usually.
Yeah,
That's why I love those types of guys.
absolutely. So I was very happy about that pickup. He was the guy that I targeted late late in the season, ready to go once the off season had. Um, and in the fifth spot, there's still trying to decide between Minor and
Minor, yeah,
Dodson.
Minor looks okay.
Minor was a free agent pickup just a little bit ago, right before spring training. Nobody really
Interesting.
offered him
Yeah.
anything. Uh, I thought it'd be a good idea to take a flyer on him, and he's been very, very good uh, this
Yeah.
spring training, and I hope he continues that. Whether he does that in the fifth starter role or a long relief role, very happy with that pickup. And then
Yeah.
Tanner Dodson, for those who don't know, he was the third round pick in the 2018 draft. Uh, he is a two-way player, and as you can see, if you look at the stats here, um, he has been amazing on both sides of the ball. He is ready for the majors, I think.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah. I
just
would
as
say so.
not just as a right-handed starter, but as a maybe not every day, but kind of a fill-in first baseman or DH, what have you. Uh,
Yeah, it's nice to have the versatility though, at the very least.
yeah, but he definitely creates another spot on my roster, so I'm very happy to have him there, and hoping he finishes
Mhm.
his development this year.
Yeah, and then we made a trade with Wilson only a couple days ago. That was a nice little kind of from my perspective. Obviously, Wilson's still a top, going to be a top three reliever on most teams. The high stuff. He's good track record. I mean, pitching in a tough pitcher's park in a tough division and puts up some pretty good numbers. Um, had a few blow up games I think last year is why the ERA is inflated. But yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I needed to offload a couple of relievers before making my roster decisions because they just weren't all going to fit. So if I could get a first round pick essentially out of it, that was probably the best value I could get. And I ended up adding in. Look at the deal now for those who don't know. It was Anthony Volpe, who's another. My scout likes him. Shortstop prospect. Obviously, I'm sure yours does too. He's actually asked about a lot, but I figured, I let's look at his ratings. I liked his ratings. I didn't love them. He obviously has the crazy high gap from my perspective. Really, the big thing for him is the personality stuff. I mean, you can't really ask for better personality stuff.
Absolutely,
So you're hoping that kind of bumps his other stuff in the future. But, I was able to get rid of him. Hopefully, maybe get a better prospect type than him. Somebody I like
yeah,
slightly more,
yeah,
maybe.
and I'm counting on him to use those personality traits to develop a little bit. But Wilson,
Hmm.
as far as him, uh, you you absolutely know what you're getting. Um, I know what I'm getting out of him. I'm getting 1 year of great bullpen work back in the bullpen, um, which now I need more than ever since my big free agent signing, Joaquin
Oh,
Soria,
right. Yeah, another
is on
another
the shelf for a
former
while.
former Blue Jay
Um,
and former Sock. So,
but he's going to be my guy in probably the first half of the season. And I know what I'm getting out of him, so I'm very happy with that
hmm Yeah. Um, so the next thing we were kind of gonna talk about after going through our both of our rosters. So I want to take a look at kind of a power ranking of the how I think the top five in each division. So just kind of power rank each division. So let's see. Let's start out. Do I start off tough or easy? I have a few in my mind that I know, but the AL Central. I'll start with the AL Central. So starting with what I think of your guys' division. I still think Cleveland is going to be on top. I think they just have so much star power. Let's take a brief look at what they have. I mean, Lindor is obviously one of the best in the game, period. Bo could turn out to be a superstar pretty quickly. Mejia won the MVP. I mean, those are three guys and Valera is another young stud. I mean, they're young and they have star potential. Even Zimmer's pretty good, a very good player. Bradley was awesome. I mean, they have a lot of young guys that are
very tough.
Yeah, I mean, turned into just really, really good masher hitter types. I think on the hitting side of the ball, they definitely have the youth to kind of get through and maybe not have to rebuild as much.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing with them is going to be their pitching is aging in general. Archer, who I dealt to him, is kind of teetering. He had a great year last year. If you look at the WAR differential, it's ridiculous. I mean, their ERAs were 12 points different, but their WAR was over almost 3 WAR difference. And I think a lot of that had to do with the crazy home runs he was giving up in Toronto, which kind of unfairly deflated his WAR numbers.
Yeah.
Big time. And obviously he only pitched 139 innings too. But he's another guy that has been better, but 32, he's not getting any younger. He's going to be a free agent. So same thing with Kluber. They got a great reliever, great player, McKenzie, but the pitching is probably going to need to be revamped a bit, and that's probably where they're going to lose the most wins going forward, even as they pick up wins on the batter side. So let's take a look at my number 2. You know what? I'm gonna put the White Sox as surprise, but as the number 2 in that division. I think Detroit gets a bit worse. In general, I don't see them adding too many wins this offseason. I don't think they're a bad team. I think they're probably slightly below 500. But I think they're kind of in the middle of my pack with them, so I'll put them at number 3-ish. We obviously already went over your team at number 2. Then I would say the Twins and the Royals are both battling it out for the 4 or 5 spot, but I think the biggest jumps are going to be between Cleveland and you at number 2 with the White Sox. I think the Cleveland's another 100-win team at maybe 102, 103. Then I think the White Sox are probably an 80 to 85 win team would be my best estimates. And then
I'd agree with that. Yep.
Quite honestly, even though there's a 3 and there's a 5 between Twins, Royals, and Tigers, I think they're all not horrible teams. Like they've added, like if you look at the Royals, I mean they added players last offseason, especially Alex Wood, Jake Arrieta. Those are, it's very top-notch type players. Obviously, some of them are
good, but they're getting old. They're regressing.
Yeah. So I just think that it keeps their floor a bit higher than you might expect, but I don't think it pushes them into contention or, even for the 2 spot type. They have a few interesting players. Matt Duffy they picked up. This Gigliotti guy is a guy that I actually tried to trade for with him a long time ago because my scout thought he looked very similar to this.
Yeah.
And he's turned out very well. That eye is, I love guys with high eye. But yes, they're looking okay. I would say another like below 500, and especially competing against the other teams in the AL. They're going to be pushed down because they're playing. They're out of conference or out of division. Against some very tough teams most of the time. And the same thing with the Twins in the same realm of they have a few very interesting players. But let's see. Let me take a look at the guys on the pitching side. Flores was a draft pick. What 2019? Yeah, 2019. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Like he's crazy. I almost took him. I think in the second round, and then he didn't get to me or something like that. Or maybe I passed on him trying to get to the third round. He was a target of mine back then. But yeah, the pitching leaves a bit to be desired. Barrios hasn't turned out to be the superstar he could be. Flaherty hasn't either. Derek Gordon was actually a big part of my my deal for Royce. Way back when, I believe. Let's take a look. Way back machine, if I can scroll that far. Jeez. 2018. That was a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was a deal that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, most people, I think a lot of people in the league probably don't know, well, how do I have Royce type of a thing, just to kind of look at this. So I trade. He liked Derek Gordon a lot. He thought he could be a starter, and he has been a very solid pitcher. He's been a very good pitcher in that time he's been there, starting and relieving, I think. And Yusniel Diaz was another very solid prospect, and then Cullen and Guib were both at the time to both of our scouts, because both of our scouts saw things very similarly.
Yeah.
Some as very high potential type players. Now Cullen looks to have fallen off. Weeb still looks like he has some potential left in there. But originally we were just talking about Ire, whatever you pronounce his name, Adrianza, because I just needed a starting shortstop for the next year. And he asked about, I think, Yusniel. And I'm like, well, I mean, like, how available could Royce be? And he's like, well, and then maybe the right deal. And I'm like, well, who else do you want? I don't care. Like, keep naming them. So I ended up deciding on these three. And obviously Royce is going to be the next top, hopefully 30 player in baseball type of deal. So yeah, to go on that tangent to kind of describe my mentality in that trade, I think it's kind of interesting. So that's how I see the division. To recap, Indians, White Sox, Detroit, Minnesota Royals type of thing. The bottom three in kind of a pack. And then drink some water here. Kind of to move on, we'll save the best for last in the AL East. We'll go AL West. So I think the Astros are still the team to beat, obviously, with the recent shuffling in management and some of their roster, interesting roster things that happened with Tuba and whatnot. They lost some talent for this year, but I think on the pitching side, they still have Giles back in the bullpen, a bunch of guys that have turned into pretty good players, or will turn into pretty good players. Harper. So it looks like we're running out of time a bit. But obviously, I think they're the team to beat. If we go down to my quick 1 through 5 of that division, we're going to go. If the standings ever loads, we're going to go Astros, Rangers fighting for it, Angels at about 500, Oakland definitely below 500, but not as far as you might think, and Seattle kind of in the basement there. It's probably a 100-loss team.
Angels above 500, huh?
I'd say about 5. I wouldn't say much above 500. I think they need pitching. But I think they've added a bunch of pretty good hitters with Murphy and Espagnet and Cespedes. I mean, that's a lot of talent, despite their age. Kind of to add.
Gary Rosen, who has completely remade that roster.
Oh, that team is. I mean, he's looking like what I did, maybe even more so than what I did in like 2018 with my whole revamping of everything. It's a strategy, and I think it's going to turn out pretty well for the Angels. They're going to be competitive in them very soon. So to move on, kind of a more in-depth analysis of the division I'm in, the AL East. So I think the Yankees and I are about equal. I think this offseason, I've added and I've subtracted. I've already been over my roster a bit. I got rid of the Axeman Santana, who was a great anchor at DH. Placed him with probably a lesser product in the Carpenter, Santana, Williams platoon. I mean, Williams could be an absolute superstar, 75 contact. But I think I downgraded a bit, but I like the prospects I got, and I thought that the Axeman was a bit old to be, continuing that on a longer term deal. So I think I stay about the same. Hopefully, I think my pitching got better. I think Glass now turning into a legit starter as opposed to a reliever is going to help me big time. I think the Yankees, I think they stay about the same. I don't think they get better. And the big reason why I think is in the rotation. They lost Tanaka, who pitched really well for them last year. Severino, he's hurt, but he'll be back soon. He's still the best pitcher in the AL East, in my opinion. He's absolute superstar. But Martinez at the 2 is good. He's a good pitcher. But I think, like compared to my rotation, I think my rotation is pretty soundly better. Chance Adams, another good one, another solid 3-2-3 type, sure. But the back of the rotation with Montgomery and Newcomb, they're good pitchers for sure. They could both have above average years. But I think just in general, that's where they lose the most compared to last year. Their bullpen's still probably the best in the AL East. Mine and his are, in my opinion, still the best. He has. Look at the 80 overalls. You see blue like crazy here. It's not even fair.
They didn't need to add anything to it.
No, they didn't.
That's the thing. And
it's good. It's good.
They're good to go as just they were last year.
Yeah, and then look at the lineups. I think they do get a little bit better here. I think, when they were bidding with me against Houston with Tuba before he got exiled, I was scared they were going to get him and their offense would get even better. But they added. Where'd he go? They added Turner, who will be out for a bit, but he's a great add. I was after him too before he snuck him a little bit. But Judge, looks like he's going to have Gurriel and left, maybe, depending on if this is just spring training or not. But Glaber turns into an absolute monster. I think him and Royce are going to be the second baseman shortstops for a long time. Yeah. Didi, solid shortstop. They're great all around. Looks like Stanton a bit at first base, maybe. But I'm going to predict me an on top of him for maybe 2 games margin. It can go either way. I think my biggest surprise type prediction would be Rays as the number 3. I think they're an up-and-coming team. I think the Red Sox are the number 4, but they're another great team. I think it's just because the AL East is the AL East that they're going to be kind of put in that spot. I think the Rays, a lot of talent everywhere on the hitting side. Jamer's awesome. Paredes is going to be great. Bowers, Lowe's okay. And then Sullivan's another good catcher. Belt was a big add, I think, for them. Great eye guy. And then on the pitching side, they're very well rounded. Their bullpen's solid. Diego Castillo is a top reliever. The addition of Cole, their top 3 is pretty formidable, I think. And these 3, and then McKay, if he keeps getting better, he's interesting to look at because he's a hitter too. Looking at what he can do. Another kind of guy, like you were saying earlier, kind of helps you save a roster spot. If he turns in anything like this, what he's looking at with that OSA or even my scout, he's going to be a great pitcher. And I think then you're going to have the Red Sox possibly in a little mini rebuild, maybe like Zach's been saying, possibly trade or hope that that Sale opts out, but maybe trade him before if they do end up being in that spot like I somewhat predict. They can maybe sell Sale off, sell maybe some of these other pieces off, and continue to be a great team in the future. I think the big thing with the Red Sox is starting pitching depth. I think they just don't have much of it. I think Walker's a good number 2 to 3. Erod's another 3 to 4, but they just don't have the starting pitching might to really stand up to the other teams in the AL East. And that's where they're going to get bludgeoned, is my prediction. And then, great. Benintendi and Betts are superstars. I think Devers kind of is surprising. I think he's fallen off a cliff a little bit. I don't know, what's your thoughts on Devers? You taking a look at him recently?
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't extended when. Let's see. Oh yeah, he's not eligible for that. Yeah. Well, yeah. Now I don't think he gets an extension.
No, I don't.
I think the Red Sox they can afford much better, and he's going to be out before long.
Yeah, it's looking pretty lackluster there for me at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, a few positions are replacement level players with Swihart and at catching. I mean, they're not bad. It's just that there's so much talent in the East that you just really get put down. Like if you're not winning positional battles somewhere, it's going to be tough. And then I think firmly in the basement are the Orioles. They've made a play. I mean, that big out of nowhere, literally out of least team that I thought the least would probably get him in Guerrero. They went big and they signed him. And I think people question that deal, but he's going to be there a long time. And he's a 26-year-old top 10 reliever now, and I think he's going to be good. But
he'll be around a while. Yep.
Yeah, the rest of their team.
Just have to see how that rebuild works.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of their starters are replacement level-ish, and then looking at, I mean, they have a great core. A couple of these guys, Gorman and Cole Brandon, are looking like superstars to my scout.
Yeah.
And then Frazier, Mancini, not a lot of good positional talent as long as they can get maybe some catching and some more power out of the, slugging heavy positions. Maybe they can play soon, but the rebuild in the AL East is always tough, especially when you're starting off with a team like the Orioles that doesn't really have much to begin with. So that's my kind of top five. Anything you want to add on any of those divisions? I think maybe sleepers or anything.
Well, you put the Angels in third, and the more I think about it, the more I'm ready for it. They've completely remade the roster, as you can see there. They're ready to go. Their GM is taking a pretty interesting route to it, but I'm very excited to see how things work out there.
Yeah.
So I think they'll. I don't know if they'll be competitive this year, but they'll be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's about right. Them, and then maybe I don't know. I guess if you're going to call a sleeper, I think the Rays are another kind of sleeper for me. With kind of just more of an unexpected as the third. Not that they don't have the talent. It's just hard to see the Red Sox being not in at least the top three in the East.
Yeah, it's hard to see, but anything can happen.
Yeah,
anything can happen here.
Injuries and whatnot. So, yeah. Well, it's been a good time here. Let me cut the. Come back to me for a second.
All right.
Where's this? Stop sharing. Cool.
Very good, friends.
Cool. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this double-fisted Fatcast. You get some analysis from a real live league member, besides myself, and ran a little long, but I really hope you enjoy it because it's good content and it goes deep.
Yeah. Well, glad you had me on, and I think looking forward to the season, looking forward to the draft too, which we didn't even get to, but lots of things happening right now. So I'll see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you very much, Rossini, and everybody out there. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.